Hi all, this is BRR. So today's topic is what is introduction of unit testing and TTD and BDD. So as everybody knows that unit testing is nothing but a testing of unit of code. Testing is happening to the unit of code which is separated from the function or an object. So in the software development perspective, what is an unit testing? In the code perspective, like when as a developer, so when you're developing any project or any like writing of code for any task, so what exactly you are doing to test or ensure your code is working as per the desired. So what kind of testing you are doing, and what is unit testing, and what is TTD is a test driven development, and what is BDD, behavioral driven development. So a unit test focuses on a single unit of code, usually a function in an object or module. By making tests specific to a single function, the test should be simple or very quick to write and quick to run. So these are the the basic focusing areas if you are implementing a unit testing. This means you can have many unit test cases, and more unit tests means more bugs can be caught, or you can identify bugs in the earlier stage before you deploy it into your production server, QA environment or test environment. So they are especially helpful if you need to change your code. When you have a set of unit tests verifying your code works, you can safely change the code and trust that other parts of your program will not break. So this is the main advantage of doing unit testing of code, either it's .NET Core or Java code or scripting like JavaScript or VB script. So whatever language you are writing code, if your code is properly unit tested, you will be more confident on changing of your code if any change comes in later stages. So you can confidently safely change the code and trust the other part of the code, like part of program will not break with your change. This is the confidence and this is the trust, so you are giving to other developers or other departments on your development. Okay, let's see, like we'll get into this. So if you look at the diagram, this is what the unit test exactly defines. This is my function or an object where I have like 1,000 lines of code have been written in the function, or some base major logics has been splitted into the functions and has been written like function 1 function 2 kind of thing. So if you want to test some of the decision making lines of code in the function, you have to go for unit testing. So this is my function, so where this is my piece of code, and I'm just verifying the behavior of testing. This is nothing but a unit test. So as I said, unit test is a piece of code which tests behavior of a function or a class or an object or a structure or a union, or the view, partial view or view or layout, whatever terminology you can use it. It depends on the area you are working on it. So unit test is a piece of code which tests the behavior of a function. I can simply say, basically unit tests are written by the developers. So remember, these tests are written by the developer but not by the tester. We are only talking about the code level testing. It's not about the function level, flow level testing. So it's purely concentrating on the development side. So this is about testing, but many of the developers' misconception, that incorrect understanding, is that unit test requires a specific syntax to write. This is the misconception. How everybody have this misconception of unit testing as part of code unit testing, that we should follow some syntax and we should know some keywords and we should learn something before write test case. This is absolutely wrong. This is also called, this is so-called if you look at XUnit style, like I will tell you an example of verification of JavaScript code. Like if you look at the XUnit, XUnit is an open source framework for unit testing of your JavaScript. The syntax is commonly, many slightly older testing books like tools kind of thing. If I can write some syntax of the Mocha open source framework, like if I see it here, I will show you the syntax what it will be looks like if you kind of the XUnit family unit testing tool, if you use it. So how it will be look like if you look at the Mocha open source framework. Mocha open source framework, it is a open source framework for JavaScript unit testing. Of course we have Jasmine, and of course we have Karma. These are other tools basically, but if you look at this the Mocha unit testing framework, the syntax would be like it starts from keyword suit. So let us say like if I want to test something, so I can say simply suit of test case 1 function. So here you will set up your test here within this two suits. Set up your test cases. This is the area you can specify, and after this you can clear test cases. Any if you have old, then you have to use tear down. This is the one more key down keyword you have to use in Mocha testing framework. So here you can clear your test cases after test. And next part is major part where you start testing. So for test your script, use keyword test of I'm saying some like some ABC should be XYZ, or should do XYZ. This is the test case I'm going to write. So here you can write your test cases. Test something. So this is the syntax of the Mocha open source framework to do unit testing of JavaScript, and it's old tool we are using it for, but it has some syntax like you have to use suit, and then you have to tear down, and then you have to test. So this is the syntax, but this is just an example of what a tool looks like. Basically you don't need to know about any kind of tool to do unit testing. By using simple JavaScript syntax also you can do unit testing. How means like if you want to test some names should start with empty. This is my test case. How we will do same thing, like we will do same. I will do unit testing using JavaScript. So my testing is I want to test name should start with empty. So I will simply declare where user equal to new user. If user dot get name not equal to empty, throw new exception. So this way I can write my function using JavaScript to do the same kind of unit testing. But this is just an example. But using an actual unit testing tool such as Jasmine or Karma or Mocha will make so easier to write test cases because they have built-in keywords. If you look at this Mocha, they have their keywords like suit where you can specify your test case. This is the TA down where you can clear your test cases after running of your test case. This is the test keyword where you can write all your test cases. This is the Mocha. And if you can look at the Jasmine, the syntax would be describe where you can describe here like if you can like test case one function, close it, and here it has it. So here I will say like executing test case one function. So here you can say assert dot to be equal true. So this is something called syntax of Jasmine. Like if you look at the first one, this is an Mocha syntax. This is Jasmine syntax. So we have clear steps where we need to define this test case execution and test case uh, clearing of test case after execution. So we have clear indication if you go for tools instead of writing using a simple JavaScript. So but we can do unit testing using JavaScript also, but using tools we have benefits like so easier to write test, and they have other helpful features such as better reporting when test fails. If your test case gets failed in, using an Mocha or Jasmine or Karma, they have separate UI. There you can see like the failed case indicating something different color and different UI, and the pass case will be showing in different indication. So you can easily identify the passed cases and failed cases. But when you comes to your JavaScript, so we don't have that kind of facility. You have to write each and everything. That takes more time compared to tools. Something that any automated test is unit test. Somebody thinking that like any automated test is a unit test. It's not true. There are different type of automated tests, or each type has its own purpose. Yes, this is true. So some people thinking that like uh, as automated, like the any automated test is an unit test. It's not true. Absolutely wrong. So there are some test cases. If you look at unit test, takes time. So unit test is nothing but a single piece of code. This is not automated test. And if you look at another test case, integration testing or integration test. So you can say like this is not again automated test. Multiple pieces of test tested together. For example, testing database access or accessing code against some other test database. So this comes multiple test cases or multiple test cases can be combined and execute. Simply, we can say that multiple pieces are tested together. This is integration test, and another one is acceptance test, also called functional test. Acceptance test. This is one more test. We can call it as functional test. So what exactly it contains is automatic testing of the entire application. So for example, using a tool like Selenium to automatically run a browser. This is acceptance testing basically, like automatic testing of application. So these are the areas actually. These are the testing scenarios basically. So don't think that like every automated test is unit tested. So the different notation is different, and you should not say that like every automated test is a unit test kind of thing. Okay. When go back to your PPT. So this is about unit testing. And what is TTD? Test driven development. Test driven development is nothing but it's a process of when you write a test case, when you write like a test case and run your test. So basically what it is happening is, before you writing a code, you have to write a test case. So assuming like there is a requirement, let us say like I'm developing a game, like I have 5 levels of game, where first level game have some kind of like it has 100 score. So when the person comes to level 1 and it play for something and it reaches its score is 100, then it has to move to level 2. This is my scenario. So for this, so instead of like first developing this code, and you have to write the test case first. This is what test driven development. The TTD process consists of following steps actually. Start up by writing a test. So this starts with writing a test first. Run the test and any other test. Definitely at this point, your newly added test should fail. If it does not fail here, it might not be testing the right thing and has a bug in it. So should get a fail, and minimum amount of code you have to write to make the test as pass. That is the third step. And after that you have to run and see to that the new test has been passes. Optionally refactor your code. Again, you have to that is optional. If you want to rewrite a code, that is optionally you have to take consideration. Otherwise you refactor your test case, that definitely it will pass the case. Repeat from 1. This is how the test driven development is going to happen. So basically it starts from writing of test case. It's not start from the development. Okay. If you look at diagram, this is the whole diagram of test driven development. It starts from test driven development is approach to development where you write a unit test before code. Then you write a code enough to fulfill that test, and then refactoring. This is what the actual definition of your test driven development. So red green refactor process. I just ran a diagram with the red, green, and blue colors. If you look at here, test failed. This is the first step which you have taken in the test driven development. First, we write a failing test here. This is test failed. So then we make it pass. So update the code to make test pass. This is second step. Then refactor the code. That means you re-execute the code. It seems your test case gets pass. This is the the flow how it is happening in the test driven development. Okay, hope it clears test driven development. Now, what is behavioral driven development? It is perhaps the biggest source of confusion basically compared to test driven development. It has some confusion in that. When applied to automated testing, BDD is a set of best practices for writing great tests. So it has some best practices to write test cases actually. BDD should be used together with TTD and unit testing methods. So basically it's BDD is the additional or advanced concept of test driven development, or extended test driven development of TTD is the BDD testing. It's an extension of test driven development. or you can say it's a combination of test-driven development and unit testing methods, is called behavioral-driven development. So BDD process focuses on where to start in the process. That means in the code, so if you have a huge number of huge lines of code in the function, so you have to specify that where you have to start. Then what test and what not to test. So you have to specify these also, like what needs to be tested and what not to be tested, kind of thing, and how much to test in one go, and what call the test, how to understand why a test fails. So these are the areas this BDD focuses. That means the functional behavior aspects you can know in the BDD driven development. Okay, if you look at the diagram, whole diagram here. So I will start from this unit test. Unit test, as I showed you, are explained with unit, like it's piece of code. When it comes to test driven development, here is developer. Here is the, if you look at the blue color here, is developer. He started detailed design or codes, and he will write a test case, failing test case first time. Then he will make some changes to make it as pass, and then he comes to this refactor. So he will execute that again, the first step, that is which he has written test case, then he will get passed. This is test driven development. And when it comes to behavior driven development, here in this pink color and orange color here, user is here. So user will look at the requirements and features here, right? A failing acceptance test, right? And he will make some change to fix it, and again he will start executing the code, and he will get successful test case here. So this way it happens here. So here in TTD, he will look at the detailed design or codes. He will not look at the requirement and features. He only looks at the code design. Even I can say he only looks at the design aspect, like, so what the flow is happening. Let us say, like when I give a login credentials like password, username and password, it should go to the some main page. This is flow. This TTD, in this TTD, he will just look at the design aspect, like there is screen and username, password. These are the fields. He will just write a test case by seeing that, and he will execute. But when it comes to behavioral driven development, he will look at the requirement and features. He will not look at the design. He will look at the requirement, like when I click on OK button, it should go to the main page. This is the requirement, and this is the feature. Or if he misses to give a captcha, along with username and password, it has to be shown some red color validation saying that please enter captcha value. This is the validation I need to verify it, so that I will know the behavior of my OK button works how. So this TTD BDD will looks like, it looks at the requirement and features and then start writing of your test case. Okay, unit testing gives you the what. Basically, if you write a unit testing, it gives you what, like what your code is doing or what your function is executing. You will be knowing what kind of benefit. Test driven development gives you the when. That means when your program is going to execute, when your program is going to validate. So that kind of the key element it gives you. That means when key element it gives you in the test driven development. When it comes to behavioral driven development, it gives you how. So what, when, how. So how means it's a purely behavioral driven development. Although you can use each individually, you should combine them for a best results, as they complement each other very nicely. That's nice. So we have to combine all these cases, and you can run for a program. So definitely it gives you best results as they complement each other very nicely. Hopes it understands what is unit testing and what is test driven development, what is behavioral driven development. Thank you.